Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 1993 Toyota Celsior. Up front is a 4.0 liter V8 and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, for my American viewers, you might be looking at this car and think, wow, isn't that a Lexus LS400? It is. Here in the States, it was called the Lexus LS400, but as you'll notice from the video, I'm driving on the wrong side, and that can only mean one thing. This car was never sold here officially. This car was originally only sold in Japan. And so while we got the LS400 here, Japan got the Toyota Celsior because Lexus didn't actually exist in Japan until 2005. And there are some weird quirks with it being a Japanese domestic vehicle here in the US. We'll talk about that later on in the video, but let's get back to that 4-liter V8. Well, it's known as the 1UZ, makes 250 horsepower, 260 foot-pounds of torque, and is incredibly, incredibly smooth. This is not a powerhouse of an engine. This is not a Coyote Sunday Slammer Special. This is a nice, smooth, elegant V8. It does not have 8 cylinders to go fast. It has 8 cylinders to be smooth. It's like comparing an NBA basketball team to the groundskeepers of a mansion. Different sort of team. And just right now, I yell a lot in my videos. I always say that. I'm Italian. I can't help it. But this car, just in the short time I've been driving it, so incredibly smooth, incredibly quiet. I'm on some twisty back roads right now, and it's quiet. I can have a nice, supple conversation. I absolutely love it. Like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Nothing really too crazy here. It shifts, it's a 90s transmission. It's not a crazy, insane dual clutch that's gonna rip my skin off. I do have to say though, driving these really twisty hairpin roads in Missouri, very interesting when I don't know the roads and I'm in a right-hand drive car. Just putting that out there. So if you see me tense up a little bit on camera, Last but not least, of course, the Celsior is rear-wheel drive. So let's talk about the interior, and I'll point out some differences that I noticed between the LS400 and the Celsior, because I actually have reviewed a similar year US domestic market here in the States, an LS400, and so I'll give a couple comparisons for you American viewers, and actually for viewers abroad, just differences in general. So in front of me, I have 4 main gauges. On the far left is my fuel, then I have my speedometer, then I have my tachometer, and on the far right is my coolant temperature. Now what's interesting about this is that I do have some warning lights, of course, on the gauge cluster, but they seem almost further back in the dash than the gauges themselves. Very interesting here. They almost look somewhat holographic, and I really like that. They're very clean, simple, and easy to read, especially with the glare on a sunny day like today. On the steering wheel, I don't actually have any physical buttons. Of course, this is 1993. This is really before the time of that. However, I do have cruise control in the middle right of the steering wheel. And then I actually have my wipers on the left and turn signals on the right. Now this is for all Japanese domestic vehicles, or really all right-hand drive vehicles. The turn signals are always on your outer hand. In America, that would be your left hand, but Japan, England, right-hand drive countries, that's your right hand. So as soon as you get into a Japanese domestic car, you might hit the wipers when you're trying to turn. Everyone does it, it's okay. To the right of me, I have, of course, my door lock, power windows, and power mirrors, as well as power folding mirrors, which is very nice. And the driver's window is a fully auto window. This is something that is not featured in the American LS400. Just the Celsior got that. Moving into the center, I do have 2 climate control vents, and then my climate controls themselves. This seems more modern than it is. You have to remember this is 1993. These controls, I would honestly say, would probably stand the test of time up until 2008. If someone told me, just sent me a picture of these climate controls and said, hey, these are out of a 2008 Lexus, I'd be like, yeah, it sounds about right. Really ahead of its time here. They really hold up well. Of course, it does say Celsior on the radio down below. It's the same radio you'll find in the LS400, except everything is mirrored. So the volume knob is towards the driver, and I do have one button in Japanese that I can't quite read, if anyone would like to translate it for me. The actual radio itself, I do have some equalizers, sort of hanging on to those 80s equalizer dreams. Tune seek, things like that. And then I have a nice little ashtray down at the bottom, finished in a wood-looking material. In the center console, I do have, of course, the shifter. Nothing really too crazy here, although I can put it into power mode. It just shifts a little bit more aggressively, I guess. I don't really know. It does say ECT in the middle, and that stands for electronically controlled transmission. A lot of older Toyotas especially, but older Japanese cars will have a setting like this, and it's actually the same settings we get here in America. Then I have two cup holders that pop out of the center console itself, and the seats. The seats are incredibly comfortable. Very, very comfortable. Now, most Lexuses here in the States got leather as the nice option. Well, the nice option overseas was actually the cloth. I miss seats like this. Manufacturers don't make seats like this anymore. It's almost this sort of cotton, really soft, really plush, really comfortable material. I absolutely love these. Pretty much any Japanese car from this era, Japanese domestic market vehicle that is, has very comfy seats like this. I loved the LS400, and now I love the Celsior seats. It's really just, Toyota knew what they were doing in the 90s. But speaking of seats, we do actually have back seats, so let's do a backseat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 1993 Toyota Celsior. Really, it's the same experience back here that you'll find in the American LS400. However, there are a couple differences. I do have some fan options down on the center console. It does, of course, say Celsior on the middle floor mat. Very, very nice. This reminds me of the Lincoln Town Car Executive L that I drove. It said Lincoln on this like one-piece floor mat. I really like that. Center console back here. I do have two very small cup holders in the center console. However, I do have cup holders back here. LS400 does not have cup holders in the back. Last thing I'll say about here before we jump back up and talk about the exterior. Behind me is an air purifier. This is a Japanese domestic market vehicle feature. I've driven a Cedric that has this feature, things like that. It not only purifies the air, it's supposed to purify the air, it gives the car this Japanese smell. This smell that I've only smelled in Japanese domestic vehicles. Very, very interesting. And right as I stepped into the Celsior, I knew, if I was blindfolded, I would have known that I was in a 90s Japanese sedan. That's really, really cool. Now we gotta talk about the looks. I like the look of the Celsior. It looks identical to an LS400. So, I mean, I don't know what you really want. However, it is odd, at least as an American, seeing the Toyota badges on what I have grown up with as a Lexus product. I know they've always been the same underneath, but it's still just funny seeing those hubcaps with the big Toyota logo on them. Just looks ever so slightly off. Like when your mom brings home off-brand cereal, or you show up to a party and your friend brought over Dr. Thunder soda. The point's still there, but it just doesn't look right. And now, my final talking point about the Celsior is the fact that this is a Japanese domestic vehicle here in the States. Because here in America, we have a 25-year import rule. We can't actually import vehicles that are older than 25 years old. And so, 90s cars are coming up on 25 years old. As of 2020, you can import anything from 1995 and before. And so these 90s cars are starting to become more mainstream here in the States. Importing them is not that expensive. This car was actually purchased at Japanese Classics in Virginia. You can find someone to do it for you. It's not hard. And you can have a cool Japanese-only vehicle in the States. I mean, it's something so unique. Driving right-hand drive is such a cool experience. I think everyone should experience it at least once. But if you're interested in getting a Japanese car, a right-hand drive vehicle in the United States, look for a Celsior. Don't look elsewhere. And here's why. Like I've been talking about this entire video, this is a Lexus LS400. It shares an engine. It shares a transmission. It shares differentials. It shares 99% of its parts. Okay, the front running lights are a little bit different. Wipers are going to be a little bit different. Gauge clusters are going to be a little bit different. But here's the thing, is that most expendable parts are going to be easily found here in America because we got a nearly identical car. So, say your alternator goes out on your Celsior. That's fine. Go pick up an LS400 alternator from AutoZone. I'm sure they have like 3 in stock at every AutoZone across the country. If you need new brake pads, go pick some up. They're cheap because they're Lexus parts. We have them here. The same cannot be said about the Toyota Crown. We never got Toyota Crowns here in any form. And so, more specifically, I have a friend who has 2 Toyota Crowns. He was telling me that it's almost impossible to find front brakes for Toyota Crowns. They're special parts, only manufactured in Japan. So you have to go, you have to find someone who's currently living in Japan and say, hey, can you send me some brake pads? There's no mass distributor here for the States for parts like that. And so when you buy a Celsior, you get to experience the JDM life. You get to drive and own a right-hand drive car. You get to drive your friends around and shock them when they sit in the passenger seat, which is normally their driver's seat, and they go, whoa, so cool. I mean, to be fair, the first time I drove a right-hand drive car, I reacted the same way. This is so weird. This is so weird. I'm on the wrong side. Ah! But you get to show up. You get to have people stare at you in traffic and go, he's on the wrong side. But you don't have to pay the tax that comes with owning a JDM car, like a Honda Beat or an AZ1, because no form of those vehicles was sold here. And that makes this the perfect first JDM car. If you're looking to buy a JDM car, you want to live the right-hand drive lifestyle here in the States, you want to scare soccer moms on the highway when you're on the wrong side of the car, look into Toyota Celsiors. It's all the JDM fun without any of the JDM heartache. Last thing before I go is that once you do buy your Celsior, you also own a luxury car now. Like I've been saying, this is quiet, it's smooth, it's calm, it's collected. The ride is apologetic, sloppy on these twisties. Big truck coming. F-250 on a tight turn road against a Toyota Celsior. The ride is sloppy. This is not a performance vehicle. However, it's calm. It's a lazy boy recliner. It's comforting. It's a supple hug after a long day's work. Because here's the thing, is that once you drive right-hand drive for 2 months, 3 months, a year, it starts to wear off the coolness of it. You've already shown everyone what it's like. Once that sort of sheen, the honeymoon phase of owning a right-hand drive car is over, you're still left with a comfortable car. You can't say that about the AZ1. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Max for letting me take out their Toyota Celsior. This is absolutely awesome. They picked this car up actually not too long ago. I'm super thankful that I was given the opportunity to drive the car, because really this is something very special, and it's always fun. You know, for me, driving right-hand drive is still a little bit of a treat. And so I appreciate Max for letting me do that. They also have a YouTube channel as well. I will link that in the description below. They have tons and tons of videos about the Celsior. So if you want more information, they did a whole video about the exact differences between the LS400 and the Celsior, because Max actually used to own a LS400. They traded it for this. Go check out that video. I'll actually leave that video at the end, so you can go click that if you want more Celsior goodness, because it's really interesting. And Max's video is so much better than any video I can make about it. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.